You're listening to the Business Communicators.
But Thomas, I did want to turn it over to you because you actually shared this study that revealed that virtual reality skills and training is poised for explosive growth in 2022. And I thought that was interesting because Hattie and I both work in the energy sector. And VR and AR has been such a thing that we've seen in the past, I don't know, 2 to 3 years of companies, whether it's training, whether it's, trying to do something different to, show off to their, investors and shareholders. We've even seen like augmented reality really take heed with apps like Snapchat. Pokemon Go is one of the most popular apps in the App Store for the longest time. And it's this new technology. And study says that this is the future moving forward.
Yeah, it was a press release that I found on the PR Newswire that started gaining a little traction in some of the industry rags. And personally, I know not so much about internal comms. All my work has always been on the external side of it. Has always been on the marketing side of it. With that being said, yes, marketing on internal, but the actual tools and techniques that go into it is kind of the gray area. I think it's super interesting on just the training, because when you're going leadership training, all right, Austin, you're going to be the disgruntled employee. Hattie, you're going to be the manager. They're going to have this problem. Now let's walk through it. And these times we're being separated with and so when I was in the home building industry, yeah, we used a little bit of virtual, I say virtual light, because it was a computer screen as you kind of walk through and you could click on the different features. And I've used some virtual headsets when I was doing some marketing research for some trucks a while back. And so I was interested to see what your take was on it, Hattie, because you do work in internal comms. I do think that there's a huge influx for the augmented reality, because I think it's so cool. Like when I'm working on my dryer at my house, if I could put on a set of goggles, I look through it, I see all the different parts and pieces, and it says, here's your screw and here's where this goes. And so I can see my hand going into the screw, but it can also show me what it is. So it's almost like a video game kind of mindset that says, over here is this part and piece, and over there is that part and piece. But the whole virtual reality for training, I was like, I need to learn more about this.
I think it can create a highly immersive experience for folks. If it makes the most of effective teaching methods, I believe. But I also believe that virtual reality can be expensive. But even once it's implemented, I think it balances itself out from a cost perspective. So, and it can be, it can improve job performance. So from an internal comms standpoint, I think there are some benefits to it. And I also believe that it can save time and it can save resources if you use it right.
I do think that VR is the future and AR is the future. I think that if you don't know about these technologies, you should at least have a working knowledge. You don't have to implement them at your company right now, but at least know that this is the future. This is probably what's going to be, the next 5 to 10 years, when it comes to training, because as Hattie said, the cost is probably about the same when you come down to it. But at the end of the day, you're not going to have to, fly people all over the country. So there's that, opportunity cost of, time saved versus money spent. And then I think as this technology becomes more readily available, the cost is going to cut down, right? I mean, just think back 10 years ago, if you wanted a 4K TV, you had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars. Now you can pick one up at Walmart for $400. So costs do eventually come down. And it is kind of interesting because I did see an app that was actually targeted to me on Instagram, and it was a virtual reality baseball training aid. I think the company was Win Reality VR. And basically you had to spend, I don't know, $15 a month to get access to the service. And you had to use like an Oculus Quest headset. But what it allowed you to do was train your eyes to start recognizing pitches, to start recognizing location, to start getting your timing down. And to me, I thought that was so fascinating because I know that in the sports world, athletes rely so much on film study. But when you have that VR element of, basically immersing yourself in a video game, that can help you improve so much. I mean, just think of it. You mentioned Pat Mahomes a little bit earlier. I mean, there have been quarterbacks during COVID-19. I think Phillip Rivers is one of them, who have used video games to actually, when they couldn't go out and work with, a defense in front of them to kind of diagnose coverages and sets and everything like that. they would use these video games essentially to start recognizing defensive schemes and figure out how they can adapt that way. So it has applicability not only in the business side, but also the sports side.
It's interesting because really when Hattie was talking and we're talking now, what popped in my head was we're talking virtual reality, but yet those flight simulators where you get into the little machine and it moves you around and for training. But where my mind went for the training was it's not going to work in all industries, no matter what. If you design websites, virtual reality is probably not going to help you design a better website. But if you're working on an oil rig or you're working as a pilot or a pro athlete, it's going to help you start to see the real world applications that if I pull this lever, if I do this kind of thing, this is what happens, or here are some of the challenges that could be thrown at you. So you could log hours and hours or years of experience while sitting at your computer or at your home, even when and doing training. So I'm hoping that for some of these super highly technical skilled work, that the product gets better. And what I mean by the product, better pilots, better deckhands. You insert here better athletes all the way around. And I just think it's fascinating. But I think that for business side of it, it's like any new technology. Just because it's new and it's cool does not mean that it's for you.
Right. 100%. I do think when you mentioned the flight simulator, there have been stories in the past decade of potential catastrophes in the air, of like maybe a pilot losing consciousness, maybe a pilot passing out and someone else having to fly the plane. And there have been actual cases where people that have had to land the plane, they've had training on Microsoft Flight Sim, which is basically a game that was created in 2000 where they can fly, Cessnas to, 777s, all this kind of stuff. And obviously, they're talking, they've got someone in their head, telling them, okay, here's what you need to do, change this direction. But at least they're familiar, with the instrument panels because of, these games, this virtual reality setting, if you will. So I just think it's incredible, the type of technology that is emerging. And when we look back at the past decade, just to think of how many things we didn't have 10 years ago that we have now. We weren't 10 years ago, we couldn't do, I mean, we probably could, but we couldn't do what we're doing now, podcasting, all of us being on video, having HD streams, HD cameras, high quality microphones. We're doing this at such a low cost. And if we would have done that 10 to 15 years ago, we probably would have needed like a satellite truck. I don't think our internet bandwidth could have handled it. So it's just incredible the type of technology that has advanced and developed over the past 10 years. And I cannot wait to see what happens in the next 5 to 10 years.
I agree with you. I think, everything is just accelerated and everything is just moving fast and everything changes day by day, almost hour by hour. You almost can't keep up, but I love it because it's also an opportunity to do even more as individuals and teams and groups, just like you say, just doing this podcast and the fact that it's driving cost, it's more cost efficient. And still being able to, maintain such a high quality product at the same time.
Absolutely. And that's the remarkable thing with technology. That's what we love about bringing the show to you guys, is that we were able to not make excuses about the podcast. We wish that we could record in person, but obviously COVID-19 isn't allowing that to happen. We hope to do it soon. We're actually getting together for lunch in 2 days when you listen to this podcast. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll throw a vlog up on our YouTube channel of our, dining experience. I don't know. That could be fun. Maybe not. Maybe we'll see.
You're listening to the Business Communicators.